Yeah. Hi. This is a presentation that I'm going to show to demonstrate the pipeline of how to create a video game from the beginning to the end. Well, maybe not from the very beginning, but enough to get you started. This is to demonstrate that it is possible to be able to make a video game with very limited knowledge of 3D software like Maya or 3D Studio, and also a small amount of coding. We're not going to get into coding in JavaScript or C++. This is more about just trying to get started on being a game designer. The most important part is in game designing is your concept. So I'm going to use a number of software. One is going to be Fuse CC, which right now is it was bought by Adobe, and it's free. Another software we're going to be using is a version of Maya. I'll be using Maya 2016, and also we'll use a plugin from Mixamo to make it easier to rig your characters. So also I'll try to show some motion capture to put some animation in your character, facial animation that is. And then finally we'll get into Unity. It's a free software. You could download it and try it out. Alright, so let's get started. The first thing you'd want to do is probably understand the layout of Fuse. This is what we're going to use. It's very simple. So let's start by creating a head. So you just click on the head and then it'll pop up. Now these are very customizable. You could actually change the eyes. You can make it bigger, you can make it angry, so it's very, very intuitive. It's a matter of just sliding a slide bar. Okay, so we'll get to that as soon as we assemble our character. So let's make them skinny. So you just click on the body, the legs. These tools are really good at getting you started in game developing without worrying about creating models from scratch, but I do suggest that you learn how to use 3D software, because then you'll be able to customize your character a lot more, make it more unique, and you're not limited to just humanoids. You could actually make animals, four-legged bipeds, snakes, anything you could think of you could use in your game. So now that we got the basic character, let's put some clothes on him real quick. So some bottom. Again, this tool is very rudimental, and it's simple enough that anybody could do this. And it's just clicking on pieces that you want. Let's give them some shoes. Boots are nice, and maybe some gloves. So let's get back to maybe customizing his face, and you can make his head big, his chest big, anything you want with this Fuse tool. And again, right now it's free. Let's go to the face. Let's zoom in on his face real quick so we can see it. And we're using the slider. We can make him look a little angry, so awkward, you know. Really depends on what you want to do. You just gotta play around with this. Make his brows go up. So yeah, it's very customizable. Spin around. So you know, there's more things. We won't cover every single thing on this software. So what I'm trying to get is just a basic character. So now that you have him all set up, he's in the T pose, which is really important when you're doing game designing. So now we want to rig this, give him some bones. Right now he's just a mesh, M-E-S-H, not a mess. He's a mesh, which means that there's really nothing that's driving him to move around. So we'll send him to Mixamo. We'll call this one player 1. Save it, and then hopefully my connection here is good. customizable things, because doing it this way is fine if you just want to get an idea. So now that we got our character in there, it's rigged now. It's got a bone. You can't see the bones, but I'm going to show you that later on. Right now we just want his T-pose. So it's kind of cool that Adobe offers this. Again, this was created by Mixamo, and I don't know what the whole deal with them not doing it anymore, but I'm glad it's still working. So let's make a folder called Player 1. So right now I just exported it as an FBX. So now it's been downloaded. Let's go check it out. Yep, it is. It has. So we could close this window, and then we could close this window. You could save it if you want. I'm going to discard it because I don't need it, and then we'll go into Maya. We're going to import that character, so you got to remember where we put it. So you got to import, not open it, import as a FBX. So give it a second. It should all pop up, and there it is. Now at this point, this has got like a very default skin on it, material. So I told you about the bone. This is exactly what Mixamo did. It made a bone. I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's see if we got X-rated joint. There it is. And what that means is it skinned it automatically. So if I click on this and I turn it, see, it actually did a pretty good job. It did it to all the fingers and the face. So now that we have a pretty good bone, we're ready to animate this thing. Now again, you could do this manually, but it's going to take you a long time, and I suggest that you learn how to do this, because it's a very useful tool, because eventually sometimes you're going to have errors. How do you fix the errors? Well, if you don't know how to do it, you're under the whim of the software. So now that's done, we're going to go ahead and use this Mixamo. Again, this is from Mixamo. It's the rigging tool. You could build your own, which is it's a good skill, really, to learn how to rig your bone structure and your characters. So now that we got the rig, we could actually start looking at what it does. So if I click on here, change my tool to translator, you can make the mouth move. The cool thing is you could use this information to actually use your face. So if you have the capability, so let's bring this up so it actually sees me. So the camera is actually seeing this thing is being driven. Let's try to connect these two together. So network streaming is on, and let me close this. Let's go back to custom. Let's bring this up. So we're almost there. We're gonna need, I pre-did all this stuff, so I'm gonna go ahead and see if I could find my, whoops, face shift, I think, profiles. Nope. I guess I'm gonna have to go to my G drive, S drive. So let's pop that in there. Okay. So these are all the targets that I put in earlier. So it's not as simple as it looks, but it does help once it's all about the preliminaries. Now if I hit connect, I should see the face. See, it's being driven. I don't know if you can see that. Let me show you this. So now the character is actually being driven by my face. Alright? Okay. So let's turn that off and go back to this. So that's another really cool way of fire alarm is on. So let's go ahead and take a look at the textures of this thing. Sorry about that. So now we have a problem with the texture. I don't know if I should pause it and check. I think we're fine. So as you can see, the texture is a little bit, it's transparent, and it's not doing so good. So again, we're back to how do I fix this? This is the reason why it's a good idea to not rely on applications, because they're always going to give you some kind of problem. So you got to figure out how to fix it. So in this case, I would just have to go to the hyper shader, bring that up. Okay, so I think there's a problem with the transparency. So let's go and look at the graph. There it is, transparency, if you guys can see that. So I just turn them all off. Just grab it, pull it. So give me a second here. So if you didn't know how to do this, you'd be stuck with a funky looking see-through character. So now, one more. I think. Yeah, one more. So now our character should look pretty decent. Yeah, there you go. I don't like the way the eyebrows turned out, so I'm gonna, the eyelashes. Let's get rid of those eyelashes. So if you notice, you can't click on here, right? And that's because there's layers, I think, that needs to be removed. So there you go. So now we got ourselves a character that was rigged. And I didn't do any rigging myself. I let the software do it. So this already has a nice rig to it. So if I grab all this, and I could actually move it. See, it's kind of cool. Maybe I won't use the fingers. The thumb. Just use the fingers, so you can make a fist. That's what that's for. All right. So now that we have this all set up, let's go ahead and export this into the video game. So what I like to do, I just want to grab the things that I know is going to go with it. So I don't want all this other stuff. I just want the mesh and the joint. So come here, and then I want to send it to Unity, just the selected part. So now I'm in Unity. I'll go ahead and put it in here, and this asset. And then I have a folder in here called players. I'm going to make another one called demo. Now, after this is demo player. After this is exported and imported into Unity, we're not going to get textures, so it's gonna be back with its default. So we're gonna fix that later on. So let's go ahead and import this thing and get them to move. So let's start by creating a new scene, and what that did was it put in all the game information of how this thing is gonna drive. I'm gonna put a plane in there so our character has something to sit on or stand on. So now that we got all the stuff that we need, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my character and make him into something I could control. So again, this is no coding. Normally you would have to code all this, but in order to do this, you have to spend a lot of money to get some plugins. I'm just showing you this because just to tell you that it is possible to create a game with hardly any coding knowledge at all. So where is that character that I put in? Alright, here it is. So there goes our character using the T-pose, which we need. So now we're gonna go ahead and make him into a character. So let's go back in here, start character. So now it's looking for a humanoid. So we got to make sure our character is a humanoid. So we come over here, go to animation, or was it model or rig? Yeah, rig. So let's change this to humanoid and just apply. If I didn't do that, it's going to give me an error. So now that we have that, we can close this, but I need this up. So I'm going to grab him and drop him right there. It's going to ask me all these things. Is this an agent, combat? No, I don't. Maybe I'll have the ragdoll. And at the bottom here, it's going to ask for an animator controller, which I've already made. I got a bunch of them right here. So we're going to go ahead and give them the hunter animation. And once that's done, you hit build, and you got yourself the character. So let's see if he actually worked. oh, one more thing, the camera. Camera needs to point at the character, so let's drag him and put him right here. So now we have the character, and voila, I got him running around. And that's it. And after that's all done, we could actually start putting textures on him, like so. Did I tell you that Unity is free? Okay. So now that we have his textures, it's already set up. These textures don't have any kind of material on it. I mean, these are his materials, shaders, but they have no information. So I'm going to go back to that folder, which is, I believe, in the demo folder, or is it, or player, and here it is. So that's all his texture. So I'm gonna just drag it in there. What we're doing now is we're making giving him some textures. Let me close that. This is kind of tedious, but once it's done, it looks good. So the Lambert is just the default. You don't want to mess with that one. So you click on the little ball, if you can see it, and then you just drag these things in there. See, you could put the normals, so you do it for each one. Bottom. Again, we're gonna have to fast forward this. So now we got clothes on them. So you could zoom in. So there you go. Alright, so that's kind of nice. How about the ground? Let's see, what do we have here? I got a folder in here called, I think, objects. So let's go to objects. So go to the mud ground, and then we just grab this and pop it in there. Now let's see what it looks like. So now I'm building it. Later on, I'll go ahead and show you guys the final version. So as you could see, I did very little coding, if not at all. I mean, I did all the pre-codings before. But could you imagine doing all that stuff and then handing it over to somebody and saying, hey, I need you to build me a game. Here's all the assets. And the coder could just worry about the coder, and then the designer, like yourselves, could put this all together. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.